Ranking Member Rosen.
Well, thank you. I want to talk a little bit maybe about policy challenges. So as we continue to evolve and develop our cyber capabilities to address the emerging threats, it's clear that there's a number of challenges, both within the Department of Defense and across agencies, that can impede everybody's progress. And so I'd like to ask you about these obstacles and how they impact Cybercom's efforts to stay ahead of the growing cyber threat landscape. And so we know that you have many challenges, but based on Cybercom's plan for development, could you speak to some of the key policy obstacles that remain challenges for your operations, both within the Department of Defense and in the broader interagency context?
Senator Rosen, thanks for the question. First, I just want to highlight that I think we have made significant progress. One of the things we have discussed previously is the ability for us to support critical infrastructure that is off DoD, but critical to the department's mission. We do appreciate the support from Congress in giving us the federal labs authority that has allowed us to execute cooperative research agreements. I know that we've talked about Guam being a key component of this, and I'm happy to report that we have executed 6 different CRADAs over the last 6 months with a number of very important critical infrastructure organizations in Guam. And our assessment is we have reduced the threat that those organizations face by about 25%. And so that has been really key for us. We continue to work to better integrate the reserve component into our operations to help secure critical infrastructure. And it is an area where we think we need both an improvement from a policy standpoint, but we also need improvement from an appropriation standpoint. So we're able to better leverage the reserve component force in order to support some of these critical mission sets.
So could you elaborate a little further maybe with the primary sticking points that would hinder that coordination, effectiveness, expansion of our cyber capabilities? And are you taking some steps there, or how can we help as we begin to think about what those policy and appropriations needs might be?
Senator Rosen, thanks for the question. I think on the defense of critical infrastructure, there continues to be a key role that a number of different organizations will take. And I don't believe the department will necessarily be the lead, but there are recommendations that we will bring to the committee to how we might better work with organizations like the Department of Homeland Security, certainly organizations like the National Guard Bureau, and we do believe that there are some policy recommendations that will work through the process that will be beneficial. I didn't talk about the United States Coast Guard. The United States Coast Guard has been a key partnership over the last 12 months. We have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Coast Guard. And so as the Coast Guard executes operations under DHS authorities, we do have the ability to support their operations in a case where they have an authority but they don't have the capacity. And certainly as we look at the security of port facilities, critical infrastructure that supports port facilities, that is we think, a very important MOU. At the same time, if we have a Cybercom mission where we're operating on a facility that is specifically suited to the expertise the Coast Guard brings, they also have the ability to reinforce our operations. And so I do think we've made progress. I think there are additional policy recommendations. Senator, I look forward to working with the committee in order to provide those recommendations.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about cyber workforce, because you can't do any of this without maintaining a robust cyber workforce. Our defense posture depends on it. We have to be sure that they're capable, that they're equipped, and that they're trained. Like you're talking about, these are our challenges, to constantly be training, working on the mission, because the threats are ever evolving. The cyber domain is incredibly dynamic, and achieving mastery is just crucial, and it isn't done overnight. So what steps are you taking in Cybercom to make sure that we're keeping our personnel ahead of the curve? And talk to me about the workforce cuts and the hiring freeze and how that's impacting your ability to meet the mission.
Senator Rosen, thanks. First of all, I would like to highlight that over the last year, we've had a number of things that have significantly impacted how we're managing, particularly our civilian workforce. The first is the cyber accepted service. The ability to hire under CES has reduced the lag time by 45%, really from over a year to less than 6 months now, in order to bring civilian personnel on board. That has been impactful. We went through a transition from what we call a combatant command support agency from the Department of the Air Force to the Department of the Army. I'm in the Army, but I'm not saying one is better than the other, but the transition, did provide a little bit of friction as we worked from one service to the other. We transitioned to the Army last June, and that has improved sort of a repeatable process to bring the civilians on board. And so, and then there have been things like the 4092 authorizations from Congress that have been important and allowed us to hire really, really high-end talent. So I think we are on a glide path. The current hiring freeze has impacted our ability to bring new hires into the force, and we'll continue to work with the department on the way ahead for that. We have, however, not been impacted by any cuts. We have been able to go back to the department and get an exemption. It is important because, as I think you're aware, Senator, we're only a little over 50% manned with our civilian force, but it's because those authorizations have all come really in the last year and a half. So we do think it's important to get the civilian hiring freeze moved, and we do think it's important to be able to rapidly bring talent into the force.
Thank you.